It was one of the most disgraceful episodes in New Mexico political history. A corrupt ring of high-level politicians and respected business leaders engaged in bribery, kickbacks, and fraud to steal millions from taxpayers.
After guilty pleas in the case, a judge ordered the crooks to pay back the money. But did they comply? Investigative reporter Larry Barker has spent months following the money trail.
This, I think, was the largest amount of money and the biggest conspiracy that I have ever seen in New Mexico related to the misuse of public funds.
This case was about greed.
It was such a surprise. It was a huge shock, like a hurricane dropped on you with no notice.
It was crooked politics at its worst and involved millions of stolen dollars. High-ranking government officials and respected businessmen engaged in a high-stakes game of bribery, kickbacks, and fraud. And when the treachery finally unraveled, the suspects were hauled into federal court for what is likely the most significant criminal case in New Mexico history. You don't have to look very far for the scene of the crime. It's across the street. Between 99 and 04, a corrupt gang of thieves siphoned more than $4.3 million from the construction of the Metropolitan Courthouse.
Court administrator, the architect, the legislator, everybody that was in the project had gotten together to steal.
Judge Kevin Fitzwater served on the Metro Court Building Committee.
They betrayed our trust. We didn't know they were all going to sit around the kitchen table and wink at each other and steal.
The cast of characters reads like a who's who of New Mexico politics and business, starting with State Senator Manny Aragon. Once one of the most powerful politicians in the state, Aragon lined his pockets with kickbacks and bribes. He was indicted on federal corruption charges in 2007.
I have pled no guilty to these charges and have only one further statement, that is that I'm completely innocent of these charges.
But 18 months later, Aragon sang a different tune. After pleading guilty, he was sentenced to 5.5 years in a federal penitentiary and fined $87,000. The U.S. attorney called Aragon the godfather of public corruption. Court administrator Toby Martinez was the mastermind behind this scheme. He pled guilty to bilking taxpayers out of millions, and he was sent to prison for 5.5 years. Contractor Raul Parra paid bribes and submitted phony invoices. Following his guilty plea, Parra was fined $10,000 and headed to prison for almost 4 years. Architect Mark Schiff paid kickbacks and filed false invoices. He was ordered to serve a year behind bars. Ex-Albuquerque Mayor Ken Schultz was the bag man. He was caught bragging about his political connections on an undercover FBI sting.
They'll pay the debt or the bribes or whatever we want to call it.
After Schultz delivered bundles of cash to Manny Aragon, he drew 5 years probation and a $3,000 fine. Toby Martinez's wife, Sandra, set up a bogus company so her husband could launder his ill-gotten gains. Her sentence, 5 years probation. 2 others also got probation for their roles in the scheme. Attorney General Gary King's office assisted in the prosecution.
I think people were shocked when they saw the scheme, and the amount of public money that was taken was really significant.
Federal Judge William Johnson presided over the corruption case.
This case was about greed. It was about 8 individual defendants who abused positions of power and trust to obtain personal financial gain at the expense of the taxpayers of the state of New Mexico.
But prison, probation, and fines were only part of the sentences. Collectively, the Gang of 8 fleeced taxpayers out of more than $4 million. At sentencing, the defendants were ordered to pay back all the money they stole.
Restitution is part of the judgment from the court that the judge hands down.
Damon Martinez is a former U.S. attorney.
It's part of the price that the defendant has to pay in the wrongful act that he or she committed.
Construction manager Michael Murphy owed $20,000 in restitution That money has now been repaid. Subcontractor Manuel Guerra also has refunded the $100,000 he stole. Raul Parr's restitution was $600,000, which he has paid. Sandra Martinez was ordered to return $106,000. She still owes $5,800. Manny Aragon is on the hook for $1.1 million. He still owes $430,000 in restitution and the $87,000 fine. Mark Schiff's court-ordered restitution was $678,000. Schiff's unpaid balance, $446,000. Ken Schultz is ordered to repay the $591,000 he pocketed. He still owes $492,000. The biggest chunk of unpaid restitution belongs to court administrator Toby Martinez, who stole $2.7 million and still owes the state of New Mexico more than $2.6 million.
The total loss to the state of New Mexico was just over $4.3 million. As of this interview, a little over $1.9 million has been collected in restitution, so around 45% has been collected to date.
So what are the feds doing to collect the remaining millions? Well, under federal law, the Department of Justice has the power to collect unpaid restitution for up to 20 years.
Whether they ever have an ability to pay it, it's a whole nother issue, but the government can attempt to collect it for a lengthy period of time.
When we do investigations, we try to be comprehensive and make sure that no stone goes unturned and try to find that money.
The Metro Courthouse construction was completed in 2004. The Gang of Eight were sentenced in 2009.
Public trust is trust. That trust was betrayed. In this case, was very important to show that those that betray it do pay that price. The justice that happens hundreds of times a day in every one of these courtrooms is the legacy that I hope this building gives. That black mark, I'll always remember it, but I hope at some point it is vastly dwarfed by the good that happens in this building.
Larry Barker, KRQE, News 13.
You can find the judgment and sentencing documents of all 8 defendants on our KRQE app.